Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ellup from ksound.com, and the purpose for this video is to share some of my thoughts that I have about system overload. I do know quite a bit about system overload, and I want to share with you guys some of the things that may help you. All right, I can't guarantee that this video will help everybody in whatever situation you may be dealing with, these issues. This is just a few things that are common in the music production world. If you have things like Studio One, Logic Pro, maybe Pro Tools, things like that, DAW programs like that, and you're working off of a computer, period. Doesn't matter what type of computer you have. It don't matter as long as your computer works and you're working from it and you experience system overload inside your DAW. All right. Now, I've talked about this several times throughout time in several of my videos, but I want to specifically pinpoint this issue right here in this video. So some of the things that I know that helped me over the years doing this, basically your computer system, when you're doing music, such as music, if you're doing things like music, all right, music is one of those things that need a lot of CPU, which means that you can't have a lot of stuff on your computer. All right. So things like big movie files, well, really any movie file is a huge file on your computer. Music are huge files, I guess, depending on whatever you have on it. But pictures can tend to be something that plays probably a small percentage in the CPU, percentage world or whatever. But mainly music and movies, just in other programs that you may have on your computer that's eating at your computer, that's on your internal hard drive, may play a big part in your CPU performance when you're doing music. So I would suggest that depending on what type of computer you have, I'm not really sure what the parameters are, but the big issue is you need to find out what your processing speed is. All right. You also need to pay attention to how much memory you have. I have 16 gigs in this iMac that I use specifically for my music. I try to steer away from putting anything on it as far as like movies and music or even projects. I try not working from the internal hard drive itself, because it's not good to stream audio files from your internal hard drive while producing and doing your thing in your music DAW. All right, it's better that you have an external hard drive on its own separately from your computer. Now, if you are recording, I say the rule of thumb with recording, say you have a vocalist recording, or you recording guitar, or you recording drums, whatever the case may be, and especially I say drums because you're recording multiple inputs at the same time. You know what I mean? If you're recording a choir, you might have several mics, whatever. I would say go for a drive that is no more than 750 gigs. And that hard drive needs to be 7,200 RPMs. That's the speed of the drive that it needs to be. All right. Definitely want to make sure you do that. If it's anything slower than that, you may experience some issues or whatever. What type of hard drives? Probably, I usually work from a Lacy drive. I've been doing that for years. I've recently purchased a G drive. Those work phenomenal. If you have a budget, go for a Glyph drive. You know what I mean? Those are definitely more expensive, but they're more durable, and then you can never go wrong with those. As far as bigger drives, when we start talking about 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, is that good? Yeah, if you are only doing things like storing your library on those, you can store your movies, you can work on projects or whatever, you can even mix or whatever and do things from bigger drive. But when you're recording into using that drive as a recording hard drive, it's best that you use something like no more than 750. I usually go with 500 gigs when recording audio, and I have a 2 terabyte for my like Native Instruments library. I have all of my Studio One stuff on that hard drive. I have all of my Logic Pro stuff on there. You know what I mean? Things like that. And you can string from big drives like those, but as far as recording, you definitely want to make sure you're not, doing things on a bigger hard drive than what I mentioned. So I have an iMac. All right. All of my devices are Apple computers. And that's one of the things that I like, and that works for me. But you may be working from a PC, which is totally fine, because Studio One, you can utilize either platform for your music, which is great. If you working from Logic, you know that you only can use Apple computers, which is fine. You using Pro Tools as PC or Mac, and several other DAWs. Most DAWs has, you're able to use them on both platforms, which is a good thing. So I mean, just depending on what system you have, just make sure that you have enough memory. All right, the processing speed definitely plays a part, but your memory, make sure you have enough memory. And like I said before, I have 16 gigs in mine, and keep your computer free from all of the other stuff that you may have going on. Use an external drive, you know what I mean? And that is what keeps your computer working at full potential when doing things like music. So what we're gonna do right now, I've put something together real quick just to show you, and I've also talked about this topic as well when you're trying to conserve on your CPU. You definitely want to use bus channels, bus auxiliary channels, or whatever. You definitely want to utilize those, because it also helps conserve your CPU. You know what I mean? Studio One is pretty good with not using that much memory. In my opinion, it's very fast for me, and that's some of the reasons why I switched over in the first place. But if we can listen to what I have here, and then I'm gonna show you what I mean by moving things over, using less plugins as possible. That's a major form factor for guys that's utilizing these programs. And yeah, so back to the top. So most guys that are new guys coming in, new beginner, they not really familiar with what you're supposed to really do. So this video, I hope will help you. When you're doing music or mixing or anything like that, you definitely want to utilize your auxiliary channels. That way you can use one compressor, one EQ. I mean, even if you have to use several compressors for different purposes, if it's done on an auxiliary channel, it's kind of killing like many birds with one stone, if that makes any sense. There are some channels you can't bundle up, you know what I mean, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm saying. Some channels you will need to add a compressor on it individually, because you're trying to go after something different, or you need more compression on, or EQ, whatever the case may be, and that's totally fine. But the whole gist of this is, if you're going to use the same plugins across each channel, the whole idea is to use auxiliaries instead. That way it take care of everything at the same time. So we're gonna move to bar 5 on this track here. So say for instance, and this is not the best mix, I just threw it in. As you can see, everything is pretty much leveled at almost the same gain here. But so say for instance, I have this is all on my strings here, and this is here too. Let's add that counterbass in there too. All right. So we could just go ahead and pack this in the folder. All right. That's great, but you're not done. After you pack it in the folder, you must give it a name. Actually, I'll let's do it like this. Okay. Strings. We're gonna label the strings, all right? But this is what you must do as well. You know, this is your folder. It opens up and back and forth. And inside of Studio One, if you don't have if you don't have this link here, link, expand, and collapse of folders, tracks with show and hide, if this is not checked, this won't work. See, I'm gonna check this here, and I'm gonna open and close. And as you can see, it only opened and closed the folder inside my arrange window. All right, but I definitely want, you know, the luxury of everything coinciding with each other, no matter where I am in here. So I can also, you know, visit the mix section and go to strings. I need to hurry up and give these some colors because it's like really confusing. I don't even know which one which one is my, okay. Basically, all right, this is why you want to do this. You have to give it a bus. You have to add a bus channel, and that's the reason why I can't see it. And I'm glad I did that. I was looking for my folder down here, but I don't see it. But you can still see how the tracks are expanded. But once you close it, you it's like where is everything? You know what I mean? All of the string instruments, whatever. So basically, you have to add a channel. All right, and once you add a channel, Studio One is smart enough to go ahead and give it the auxiliary channel and label it after the folder. So now the folder is the auxiliary or your bus channel, if that makes any sense. So now when I come down here, now there's my strings right here. And I can see my strings, and I can open and close the folders. All right, good. So that's great. I love that. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a color, just so we could distinguish our strings amongst the other ones, because most of them are like this darkish green gray look or whatever. So now we can never get that wrong. Okay, this is our strings, and we can expand and collapse. All right, cool. Now what that did was that also created, like I said, it created an auxiliary channel for you, like automatically. So now when I need to add things like EQ or any other type of effect on it, I can just drag this over whatever plugin, and it will, you know, affect the all of my strings because it's in that folder. You know what I'm saying? If we want to give it a little bit more bass, we could definitely do so. You know. Give it a little bit more presence. And I could do a better job in mixing this too. So I can continue doing that as well. If I need to, let's better locate everything. We're gonna keep everything looped right here. So say I'm not following the correct mixing guide, but I'm just giving you an idea as to what you can do and how you can do it. So if you mixing, everything's still gonna come out stereo as though it was coming out of the main. Cause see, this folder here still, as you can see, it's still coming out of your main stereo channel. You know, right here, as you can see, left and right or whatever. You can pan like you need to, and if you was to take something out, no problem, you could do that. It's not gonna hurt anything. Let's move it up right there. Okay. My counter bass needs to be in this folder. Now, I thought I added the counter bass in here. However, I'm just gonna drag this on over in here. Bam, no problem. All right. Now, so I'm glad we going this route. Now this is where I can show you where you can add an individual plugin to that specific track, because I hear some problem frequencies. I could have went and I was using presence. I could have went and kind of tweaked the sound a little bit to be a little bit punchy on the bottom end, but right now I'm listening to it. It's giving me some extra stuff on the bottom end that I'm not really looking for. Now, this is not a mixing video. I'm not showing you how to mix in this particular video, but I'm just doing some. Now, I'm not going to go and try to find that problem, because it's going to take a little bit surgical. So I'm listening to it, and it's definitely in there. I think I found it. You just got to swoop the EQ. Yeah, I found it. Cool. Didn't think I could do it in this video, but I did it. All right, but that's just to show you, like, different things like that inside of a group you can still achieve, even if you have a plugin. I will call it a master EQ, because it's on this channel here. This is, where everything is running to, and that you can see everything is routed to strings here. Everything is routed to strings, which is this bus right here, and I can collapse this. But I found something that I wanted to fix right quick, and I just go ahead and add that plugin, and I can do one of two things. I can actually bounce that in place if I want to, and then delete the EQ if I want to, or I can just leave it there. But it's not like I have an EQ on each individual track, if that makes sense. So I don't have an and plus I don't have that many tracks that I'm working from at the moment, so it's totally fine, because I'm still within a good CPU range here. This, whatever I'm doing right now, has not begun to even touch my CPU here. I'm still at 3%. All right, didn't even touch the surface. So I got that going right. And say, most of the times when working with strings, you want to send it to, or you want to put reverb on it, right? So let's go get some reverb from somewhere. Let's use Open Air, which is a phenomenal reverb, by the way. This way, you can control how much reverb coming in. I sent it. I didn't put a reverb on. You can do that and just control the amount of wet or dry that you give it. You could definitely do that. I've done that several times, and I still do it, and it just really depends on what I'm doing. But if you're working and you have a situation where you think that you will send a lot of things to a certain reverb, then I would rather use this method. Send it to a reverb, and just by adding this reverb onto the track itself in the send area, it automatically created a send or bus channel. This is also a bus or auxiliary channel. It's the same as this, but this is just for effects purposes. All right, and then I can adjust my reverb however I want to. Let's say we go for a hall or something. I don't know, a big empty club. Let's see what that sounds like. And when you're doing it like this, you can actually rock the reverb as hot as you want to. In this instance, I love to use compression. Now I'm showing you guys my mix techniques. So I like to use compression right up under the reverb to kind of compress the signal a little bit, you know, kind of glue it a little bit better. That, to me, it just works like that for me. So this avoids me actually turning up the actual reverb channel, because I do feel like it's kind of faint, and also it's not much being sent there either, you know, as well. But I like using the compressor under my reverbs because it helps contain the reverb. You know what I mean? Everything kind of stay glued. It's like in this box. So if you don't do that, it's like everything spread out. I mean, to each his own. Everybody have their own techniques, but you know, for me, I kind of just like to just contain everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like right there, everything is right there. So that works for me, and I could just adjust how much reverb I want to come out. All right, and you can add this on to any other track as well. Again, using one reverb on multiple tracks, achieving the same thing. And I'm gonna show you a little later on in this video. Now check this out. Okay, so I have the reverb like that. Okay, sounds a little bigger now, don't it? Now I could turn that down just a little bit if I want to, you know what I mean? Just to kind of help glue it. Now let's close this. Now that's my strings, all right? So, what's next? Let's work on this kick here. Now, this kick is coming out stereo. I don't want a stereo, so we're gonna make it mono. All my snares and claps can come out mono. Now, for my drums, let's do the same thing. All right, right click, pack the folder, label this drums. That way it's one folder. Let's add a bus, bam. So now we have a bus channel, and now I'm getting signal in this thing, and I'm not supposed to. So we're gonna do that. Now let's give this a color. There we go. So now our drums are orange. Now, what I like to do here is add compression on my drums. I like to make them. Now that's too much. As you can see, it's squashing. So we're gonna back up on the threshold. I'm sorry, I gave it too much. Went the opposite way. I'm gonna rearrange my kick here. Now, I'm just going through some stuff. You know, I'm showing you guys how auxiliary bus channel works, and it all coincide with overloaded system. All right, you don't want to overload your system, so this will be like the smart way of working as far as mixing your songs. All right, staying within the, you know, the safety of system overloading. All right, so we kind of going this route because of that. So, you know, I also, you know, I do this all the time, and certain things stick out at me that I cannot allow. So let's do something with this shaker here. So we're gonna brighten up the and we're gonna put a low cut filtering on this here. You know, And that's just on that shaker. You know what I mean? But let's go back to the compression. And the good thing about this is that, and this is only for Persona's stock plugins, you can see the gain reduction here in the actual channel itself. Can't do this with third-party plugin. That is probably something that they are working to do in the future. I'm not really sure, but for right now, you know, I love working with the stock stuff. Sounds pretty cool to me. And something else I like to use on drums, I'll put limiter on here just to prevent it from clipping. All right, and just the default settings is great, because what I did was I prevented from clipping, period. And I want my compressor to work a little faster. It's working way too slow, so my release time needs to be a little quicker. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay. Now check this out. What I'm about to do. Now I could do one or two things to send some of these drums to Reverb to kind of make it sound a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. I could take this right here. I can click on this and drag this on over here. Or I can just click the plus sign and send, and just send it over to the Reverb. Or I could just take this, drag it over, boom, it's gonna do the same thing. But the only thing is, when you drag from other channels, is gonna take the setting of that, which is not bad, because I mean, I could just easily move that, you know, just move it up and down. It's not like there's a bunch of numbers I gotta dial in, and things like that. So now I really never put reverb on my kicks, but I guess you can give it a little bit, you know what I mean, just to give it a little sense of width, of depth. You know what I mean? And basically what we did was we add a send to the reverb on all of these here. Or I could have just added on the big channel here, the auxiliary, the bus channel. But because I wanted to give each individual a different amount to send to the reverb, I added them, the sends, individually on here. And it's not hurting your mix at all. It's not hurting the CPU, because all you're doing is sending. You know what I mean? It's just rerouting things, basically. It's not technically a reverb on each individual track, as you can see. When we add in plugins, that's basically what we were doing up here, and we add in plugins up here. But this is just a send down here. So you are totally still within the, the safe CPU usage. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. But basically, you can control how much you want to put on any specific tracks or whatever, and still retain the whole idea of using auxiliary and the folder and that type of thing. And you can still collapse and expand your folder here. Let's see where we are as far as CPU. Okay, we at 6%. Still great. We ain't even did nothing, you know what I mean? Alright, so I'm just listening back just to make sure everything is okay. Now I have my bass. There's a plugin actually here. This is Presence. I was using Presence to program everything, so we can mute that. It's already muted, but so this is my up right here. Now this can stand by itself because it's a bass instrument, and it's not, it doesn't need it doesn't need to be grouped with anything else because it's just a bass right here. Now this here, the shaker hats, and I was wondering why this. Well, okay, this is just a plug-in, and I can actually, let's delete that. We don't need that anymore. I'm not using that, and I can delete this here. So we're not using those, and so we now we don't have any plugins, any instrument plugins, that is. And I can make this fat, but again, that's getting into the mixing. What the heck? How about we just go ahead and just do something to this? Let's see. What can we do? Okay. Cool. So, and these are all of my routing from the instrument track, which is Impact. I can get rid of these here. I have to right click. As a matter of fact, if I was to add, and just in case you guys are dealing with this, and you just wondering like, what are all these other extra tracks here? I'm gonna load up Impact again, and basically, what I should have did was, when deleting this track, I should have removed track and instrument, and it still didn't do it. Let's do that again. We're gonna pull up this instrument here. Oh, I have to. All right, so I guess this is how you got to do it. If you come to that point, now we have everything that correspond with what we have in it, a range of tracks, so everything is pretty much the same. All right, so just in case some of you guys are like, man, what are all the other extra stuff? I deleted that, and like I still have a bunch of stuff in my mixer. Well, the instrument itself comes with different output routing channels, like you just saw a few seconds ago. My Impact drums, I had specifically coming out, and I kind of set it up like that. But when you delete the instrument, they don't delete with it; it stays there. So you have to go in and delete the instrument. The way that you just seen me do it. You have to delete the outputs and the instrument, and then it'll disappear. So that's the only thing with that. You can also hide and show things, like this. You can hide stuff, whatever. But yeah. So I hope that helped you guys, and trying to keep. And this is also a great way to keep your sessions organized, as well as keeping your CPU at minimum. If you got bigger tracks, and believe me, my tracks can get huge. On a normal basis, I'm mixing tracks no less than 80 tracks and up, over past 100 tracks, and using this system is definitely helpful. Taking like instruments, all your string instruments, group them together, all your drums, group them together, all your piano, you know what I'm saying? Group everything together to keep everything nice and neat. Give them colors. Colors are definitely a great thing. Thank God for colors. Back in the day, it was black and white. How could we survive? Everything was black and white, but now we got colors. We can color our tracks and keep everything organized, and and things like that. And there's nothing on this track. We need to delete that. Delete that track, please. Not duplicate. Let's remove it. Okay. So you know what I mean. That's and then these extra things down here. You see, this is 3 things up here. I got my drums, my strings, my upright. All right. This is the track, the auxiliary that we sent to. All right. So, and then obviously at the end of the track, the master, you will probably add some things that will kind of boost the overall sound. You know what I mean? You'll probably add a limiter. The limiter is always at the end just to keep everything from clipping. That's totally fine. Whatever you want to do. Let's see. Let's add one now. You know what I mean? And really all you have to do is just make sure that the limiter is on there. I mean, and then you can control the ceiling. Whatever. I might go with a -3. You know what I mean? But even if you don't do any adjustments in here, I mean, once you put it on there, it's fine because it keeps it from clipping or whatever. This is not a mixing or mastering video. There are some techniques that I do, and in fact, I usually don't use a limiter. This limiter, I use the Ozone 6. I will use the Ozone on here to handle all of the mastering stuff and do all of my tweaking and things like that from there. But like for simple stuff like this, you can just use a limiter, and again, it's just to keep it from clipping or whatever. And you still within the good, CPU percentage. Now we close to 10%. All right. But imagine what your CPU usage would be if you was to add each individual plugin to each track. You know what I mean? We will probably be at 30% when you don't have to. You know what I mean? Just using simple techniques, and it works. All right. All right, this is your boy Ellup, and remember, at the end of the day, music is art. You're the artist. Paint your picture.